I took the volunteer job at the state park because I needed the extra money, and because the ranger station said the work was simple. Walk the North Trail twice a week, check the marker posts, report anything unusual. I didn't expect to find anything unusual on my very first walk. The trail wound through 11 miles of dense forest, mostly untouched, with wooden posts every half-mile marking the distance for hikers. My job was just to make sure the posts hadn't been damaged by weather or wildlife, and to note any fallen trees blocking the path. On my first walk, I noticed something carved into the third post. A name. Just a first name, carved deep into the wood. Clean and deliberate, like someone had spent real time on it. I didn't think much of it. Hikers carve things into trail markers sometimes. On the fourth post, there was another name, different handwriting, if you could call carved letters handwriting. But still, a name, nothing else. By the time I reached the 8th post, I'd counted 6 different names, each one carved into a different marker, spaced out across the miles like something deliberate. I mentioned it to the ranger back at the station. She said hikers do that sometimes, memorials for people, inside jokes, nothing to worry about. I believed her. For the first few weeks, I believed her completely. It was on my 6th walk that I found the 7th name. And this time, it stopped me completely, because the name carved into that post was mine. Not a common version of my name, not a similar name. My full first and last name, carved into the wood in that same deliberate style as all the others. In a spot I had walked past a dozen times before, without any name there at all. I told myself someone was playing a prank. Someone from the ranger station, maybe, who knew my schedule, who thought it would be funny to mess with the new volunteer. I asked around. Nobody admitted to it. Nobody even seemed to find it particularly interesting when I brought it up, which somehow unsettled me more than if they'd laughed. I went back the next week specifically to look at that post again. The carving was still there, but it looked different somehow. Deeper, like it had been recarved. Or perhaps like the wood around it had aged in a way that made the original carving look older than it should have after just 1 week. I checked the other names on my next few walks, trail markers I had walked past dozens of times over the following month. And I started noticing something that made my stomach turn cold. The names weren't staying the same. They were changing. A name I remembered from post 4 had disappeared entirely by my next visit, replaced by a completely different name. Post 8's name became slightly different. The same first name, but now paired with a last name that hadn't been there before. I asked the ranger station for the trail logs, wanting to see if any other volunteer had reported similar carvings before me. She pulled up records going back almost 15 years. Every single volunteer who had worked that trail, going back that entire time, had reported the exact same thing at some point during their time on the job. Names appearing on the posts, their own name appearing eventually, always somewhere between the 6th and 10th walk. And every single one of those volunteers had quit within a month of finding their own name carved into the wood. Every single one, except for one man, 15 years ago, who simply stopped showing up entirely. His car was found still parked in the trailhead lot 3 weeks after his last logged shift. He was never located. The trail was closed for 2 months during the search, then reopened when nothing more was found. I asked the ranger carefully what she thought was happening. She said she genuinely didn't know, and that she'd worked at that station for almost 20 years without ever walking the North Trail herself. Not once, despite it technically being part of her job responsibilities too. She said the volunteer position existed specifically so that someone else would always be the one to walk it instead of her. I asked her why the position was never simply eliminated. If this many people had reported the same disturbing pattern over so many years. She said someone has to walk the trail. She said if nobody walked it, if the posts went unchecked for too long, the names didn't stop appearing. They just started needing somewhere else to go. She wouldn't explain what that meant, no matter how many times I asked. And something about the look on her face when she said it convinced me not to push any further. I quit that same afternoon. I never went back to collect my final paycheck. I still live in the area. Sometimes I drive past the entrance to that state park and I think about the trail and the posts and my own name carved into wood in handwriting that wasn't mine, in a place where no one admitted to carving anything at all. Last week, I saw an advertisement posted at the local community center. The state park was looking for a new trail volunteer. North Trail Maintenance, they said. Simple work, just walking, checking the posts, reporting anything unusual. I wonder if whoever takes that job will make it to their 6th walk before they find their own name waiting for them. I wonder if they'll be the one who quits, or if they'll be the one whose car is found still parked in that lot, weeks after anyone last saw them walk into that trail. If you ever take a quiet volunteer job in the woods, and you start noticing names carved into things that shouldn't be there, I'd think very carefully about how many more walks you're willing to take before you find your own. Some trails aren't meant to be walked more than a few times, and some names aren't carved by hikers at all.